No one believes in the work.
Well, I do.
I finally realized there is one thing I can't live without. You.
Hey everybody, it's TYT and our discussion of Masters of Sex. We didn't do this for season 1. We have bowed to peer pressure, and we're going to do it. So many of us, Robert, you saw it sort of authentically season 1. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The rest of us, William, Alonso, and I, we binged. Yeah. And it's a good show. It's a good television program.
All right, back to you.
Yeah. There was just, because I fear I'll forget. So we saw Beau Bridges get electroshock therapy to cure him of being gay. And you see the smartest doctors in the world take it seriously, right? Mm-hmm. Which is alarming. But man, like sometimes I get these moments of like what it means to be a professional actor. And the look, the terror on his face when he got that, like that's, like, you know what turns out? Turns out Beau Bridges is an actor.
Beau Bridges
and I did not think so, but man, and then his confusion when he woke up for such a, man, that's good stuff. But
then Michael Sheen has to get barfed on, so that's an actor.
Yeah, right, just a suit. Just a suit.
It's way harder than any of the nudity any of the other actors have to do. You have to get Beau Bridges to act, and Beau, as we all know, is method, so he just really just chunked. He chunked.
Of all the fluid exchanges on this program, and that was the one.
And then because
it was so good that Allison Janney wanted to get barfed on in her scene with him.
But I mean, he's so good. Allison Janney, I've always is as good as it gets.
She had my favorite. I think my favorite dramatic moment in all of the season last year was, when she's being interviewed to join the study and she realizes she's never had an orgasm. The look on her face was as heartbreaking as I've seen any actress do all year.
And
it was great.
Watching her try to keep her composure and just get to the elevator.
Yes.
Get to the elevator. It's so sad.
Margaret, have you ever experienced an orgasm?
I don't know. Maybe. You would know.
And similarly, though, the keeping it together when she's getting dumped at the train station.
Yeah. Where trying to keep her dignity. Like, I realized it afterwards, but she knows it's
she turns it around and makes it like she's just like, oh God, she's so good.
I watched like 7 or 8 episodes. I don't think there were that many. Let's stop at 6 of Mr. Sunshine, the Matthew Perry. One of Matthew Perry's, but only because Allison Janney played like the woman who ran the arena, and she couldn't help but like every scene she was in, I was like, that's awesome.
I have this image in my head now of her trying to help it, like this show sucks, try to kill it, try to get off the show. Like, no, I can't help it.
I can't help it. I'm too good.
It's funny. A lot of you'll see a certain movie or TV show and you think, oh yeah, that actor. I'm gonna learn that name and I want to see that person. Allison Janney had me from the Private Parts trailer. Wow. Do you remember that trailer where she's just standing there smoking and she just rattles off all these adjectives about Howard Stern being gross and juvenile and disgusting? You want more? I mean, like it was. I was in the Allison Janney pocket.
Then because we were not being sexist because we just mentioned Allison Janney, but like there's I just got finished watching for the first time in many years, but for the 8th time overall, Bowfinger, and there's that great. I love it. I really do because it's great, and it's funny. Like there are moments in Bowfinger when you're like you forget that Eddie Murphy's just capable of unbelievable brilliance, right? But there's that, but the Heather Graham scene in the Anne Heche character, which she just lists when she'll be nude, right? It was for the thing, but it enhances the character, but right? And meanwhile, she'll sleep with anybody but so here's Lizzie Kaplan in this, where you're cast, you get this big break to lead this series against this knight, right? Michael Sheen, this really serious actor. And she's got to do all this.
He was in the Twilight movies.
I got you.
Let's not get crazy.
And Underworld.
And all Underworld. So
fair point. But plays Tony Blair better than anybody.
Right. He owns that shit.
Owns Tony Blair, owns David Frost. But so she's got to, and there's never been nudity in a show that is more contextual, But still, like she's the grown-up star of the show, and she's got to week after week or many weeks. Got to take off her clothes and she's got to like just give herself to this role and to whoever she's with and to the camera, and it's impressive. It's impressive.
Lizzie Kaplan is great, and she reminds me of like when you watch her, it's like you're watching a 30s actress.
Shall I send the laundry up to the room?
We could have an affair, millions do. What we have between us is work.
The poise, the the intonations. They're all. There's nothing modern about her in this performance, and it's great.
And I feel like the show has started commenting on itself now that people in the hospital have seen her naked, and now they're all responding in this incredibly trashy way. Like pretty much anyone who ever tweeted after watching Master of Sex, "Oh my God, her breasts!" Like that's you. You're a jerk. You're a sexist bastard from the '50s, internet.
I will say, as much as I'm enjoying the show, I think there are occasional anachronisms that drive me crazy.
They said back in the day.
Back in the day.
That is not from the '50s.
He said back in the day. I was like, no, you are not Run or DMC. You know, that's no.
Some days it was a kid.
And like, I think the bras occasionally need to be bulletier. Is it me? I mean,
let that slide a little bit.
And even Lizzie Kaplan's hair occasionally seems a little relaxed.
That hair changed from like the last episode of this season to the first episode of this season, pretty dramatically, and it's supposed to take place like seconds afterwards.
Right.
And I'm just like, yeah.
But
let it go.
let's not get lost in the weeds.
I also think that some of the, I can't believe I'm about to say this, some of the interior design does not, it seems like doctors in St. Louis in the 1950s, their houses, they're too hip, they're too angular, they're too, like they'd have some furniture that, to me, it just.
Well, I mean, his master's house, like the caretaker gardener guy, pointed out, oh, it's whatever that architect's name is.
Yeah.
So like that one is supposed to stand out. But you're right. The other, not Tony Houston, what's his face? Danny Houston would his house is going to be, pretty colonial.
I feel like that's part of it though. Like one of the things I like about this show is in addition to having the context of, let's see how we change socially and sort of the way we view sex and gender roles, etc. It's also very much like an early episode of General Hospital in a lot of ways. And the part having people whose houses are a little too nice seems like a part of that. Because no matter how much sex or science or sociology gets involved in the show, on some level it is just, oh my God, I can't believe he's cheating on his wife. Oh no, Austin is cheating on his wife, and now she's at the hospital and she's yelling at him and he's hiding under a desk. And there's an element of that is fun and that allows them to be more serious about other things at other times. And I just think having that level of production design helps.
Do we know how historically accurate the show is in terms of?
I mean, no, they were having sex. I mean, that is true that they were basically having. They were having sex and they looked at it differently. I mean, it is true that that whether it was a affair or not, he was using it. He was having sex with her as an excuse to avoid, was it transference, I guess, or whatever. But that. It's speculated that he was using it as a way to control Virginia Johnson because she was becoming more popular at the hospital and people were thinking that it really was her and so there might have been a little bit of territorial thing, and that is absolutely true. That's I read a lot of the book because I wrote a story on the show last year, and so I read a lot of the book that it's based on. That stuff is true.
What I'm asking actually is beyond Masters and Johnson, who obviously their affair and eventual marriage and stuff is pretty well documented. I mean, is Austin a real character? Is Dr. DePaul
almost everything else is composite. Barton is not real. So I mean,
that's what I was wondering.
It's one of the chancellors or something at the college was gay.
It's like Libby's real and his mother's real and Virginia Johnson is real and even weird things. No, Ethan's real.
Okay.
And weird things
they wouldn't have written him off the show so unceremoniously. I'm amazed they even bothered to get him to contribute his voice to this episode. Half of this episode seems dedicated to just getting people off the show.
I know, It's like who's still around and who's not.
Are we? You're positive he's not showing back up?
I don't.
He's
think
not.
so.
He's not on the cast. I have the press kit. He's not on the cast list.
He has no function left to serve at this point. And honestly, I don't know if any. I was watching it. I couldn't forgive him.
What a great phone booth.
So that was nice.
I want to go make a call at that phone booth.
Right on the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah.
Really beautiful.
I will say this: the scene of her on the phone with Ethan, where we get it from his perspective, from Master's perspective, and then from Johnson's perspective. Is a better sort of Rashomon moment than anything in Jersey Boys, where they try and do that. They try and pull out that multiple narrator thing, but in Jersey Boys, it never pays off. You never see the same thing from different perspectives or completely portrayed differently. And here it's okay, it's the same thing, but what he hears versus what she's saying to what he's saying, totally different.
What did I miss there? Because I thought, that's neat that they've done that, but I heard the same thing twice.
Because Masters doesn't know that she is talking about him.
Right.
And she's also talking about work.
I got you.
She
Yeah,
thinks
of
he's
course.
saying like, "Oh, I can't believe you're sleeping with Master. I can't believe you're in love with him." And what she's actually, when he on the other line says, "Is this about the work?"
Right.
And by the way, you could get so drunk on this show if you take a hit every time someone says the work.
The work,
The work.
the
It's
work,
about
yeah.
anything the work.
The great work begins.
So yeah, I don't know. Very, impressive stuff. The way that characters, to get back to Ethan a little bit, and I know he's gone, but like the way they turned characters around incredible ways to where, look, he hit her publicly and called her a whore, and then he rehabilitated himself, and they and then there are moments like I think in the second or third episode where you're like, this guy's the worst guy I've ever met in my entire life, and then in an instant when those guys talk badly about who had the hysterectomy, who's married to the
Betty.
pretzel.
Oh, Betty.
Betty. Right, when they're doing the surgery and they say something and he's like, scrub out.
Get out.
Scrub out, like in an instant, and you're like, oh, you're awesome.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
And even when he enters into that sort of politically useful relationship with Barton's daughter,
Yeah.
and you're thinking, oh God, he's going to be such a climber. And then that even sort of, I mean, it's a little Weasley, even the way he gets out of it, but it's ultimately he's doing the right thing by not going through with the marriage and then being so great with Virginia's kids.
And then and for Beau Bridges to get blackmailed by his closest friend, right?
Yeah.
And then
to remain sort of friends anyway.
right, and to forgive him because at some point Beau Bridges realized, this is bigger than whether I got blackmailed. Like this moment was coming for me.
There's also
anyway.
relief in knowing that there's one person who knows about him. I mean, there's
Right.
probably,
Yeah, right.
probably like,
Conversations with him.
yeah,
Right,
exactly.
right.
So
It
I mean,
relieved
look,
this burden from him, right?
The show recognizes that people are complicated and that they can change, and it's kind of the point of the show anyway. So yeah,
That's right. Yeah.
I like it.
I do too.
Drop the mic.
Bold
Thunk,
statement.
leave.
But considering, I mean, it's gonna be an interesting season because, like, I think it's gonna be the study becomes more public. I think historically is
how
what that's
long
what
can he
happened.
rationalize his relationship with Virginia as being merely work, where
Sure.
she's clearly invested in it all the
There's
way?
this fascinating thing that happens in almost every show. It's the will they or won't they. Will they or won't they hook up? Like every episode of X-Files ended with a teaser, like maybe Mulder and Scully hook up next one. And this is a show where they get to have sex all the time and still have that. When are you just gonna say you love each other? It's okay, you can tell it's sex.
But also, everybody knows from history what happened with them. So
Well, not everybody.
Yeah, but we don't know when it's going to happen.
I know.
Really?
I mean, Alonso just ruined it for me. But I don't.
Spoiler about real life. Forgive me.
I knew it was real, and Lee, my wife, went on Wikipedia, and she was like, "Oh, I shouldn't have done that." Like she's like, I know too much now, and so I was like, yeah, you know what? I'll read it later.
Like, I know, and
And it doesn't matter, I
I'm
got it.
excited
Well,
because
it's like Game of Thrones. Everyone's like, oh, big spoilers for next season. I'm like, you could read the book.
Well,
right.
I got it.
Look,
The Game of
Apollo
Thrones-
13 is still suspenseful, and you know what
Exactly,
happens.
because suspense is not about like not knowing. Suspense is often about
1776 is suspenseful, and you know what happens.
suspense is about knowing actually what happened and like how they get there.
Exactly. It's all about how they get there, and I'm very interested to find out how they get there. I didn't
Absolutely.
realize the Pretzel King was going to be the most important thing.
I
in
had
this
a hunch.
episode.
Again, it's like you're saying with the
Well,
guy.
and
When the
that's-
guy in the picture is, from The Leftovers, was the reporter from House of Cards. You cast Greg Grunberg as the Pretzel King. He's going to
gonna
come
come
back.
Greg Grunberg will come on for one episode of something, though. He's not. I love Greg Grunberg, but he's not that big. It's not like you have to bring Greg Grunberg back. Greg Grunberg can just be a voice on a phone in Star Trek, and that's fine. You know. So,
Greg
it's
is
cool.
a huge classic movie fan, and couldn't possibly. It was scandalously nice to me when I met him through somebody else. So and is a great musician. So there you go. There's all this great. I'm happy to see Greg doing well. That was good. I mean, I've met him once. Not like we're friends, but I was impressed.
I just want to say, like, the show's called Masters of Sex, but I was really hoping because Virginia Johnson is by Masters and Johnson, they would maybe change the title this year and just
Johnsons
to give her
of
like,
Sex? I
or
think
no,
it
just
sounds
like
even
that's
worse.
my Johnson.
No, yeah.
Just because if they're making a pun with Masters, like, let's make a pun with Johnson. That's a good name.
Although I think Johnson of Sex is a porn movie waiting to be made.
Totally different movie. All right, thanks guys. We'll be back next week. 12 wonderful episodes.
I'm excited.